Hey Jacob, it's Coach Benlin here, just breaking down some of your swings from the last session. Like last time, I put a bunch of the notes into a PDF that I can share with you. Let's get into it. So I tried to keep it to 5 things we could really focus on, and I'll walk through each one. I have a couple videos and some images, and then a couple clips off your swing, front toss, and off the tee. And overall, we are so happy with what you're doing. We think you're improving dramatically. Definitely some things to clean up, getting a little more, fine tuning. But overall, we love the progress you're making. So here are a few of the things that are jumping out at me. Couple things in your load that I think we can fix, and we'll start with what I call hover and hit. Um, Watching your swings, I feel like sometimes you are loading, getting on your backside and falling forward. And you get kind of in this robotic pattern of back to forward, back to forward. And rather than being ready for all different types of pitches, I feel like you're timing up one pitch and it's determining whether you're ahead or late. I want to make sure that we're developing a timing and a rhythm that is balanced and it gets you ready to hit. Make sure that front foot is getting down, staying balanced, and ready to unload at the right time, whether it's curveball, changeup, knuckleball, fastball, whatever it is. And there's a drill I could show you that we worked on last session that'll really help you with that. When I show you in the clip, I'll show you what I mean by falling forward. I'll show you right now, actually. So the first video is off the front toss, and I'll show you what I mean here. Move this down here. So you kind of build backwards, and then I feel like you fall forwards, and it's this back forward kind of pattern. And what I think you could get better at is loading and finding that balance point, kind of hovering over that backside, and then when it's ready to come down, landing that front foot, and then throwing your hips forward. It gets kind of robotic, back, forward, back, forward. Sometimes you're on time, but even on front toss where it's all one speed coming right at you, sometimes you're a little ahead, you're a little late. And I want to make sure that you're able to load, stay over the back hip, build, and then when you want to land that front foot and be ready to hit. And the best way I could describe that is through a couple images here. So I feel like sometimes when you're in that load, you're kind of like they call it a Newton's cradle, where you've probably seen this in an office somewhere where you pull the one ball back, you drop it, and everything else launches forward, right? So I feel like you're pulling back, letting your weight go forward, and that's how you think you're getting momentum, dropping your weight forward into the swing, rather than thinking it as loading back over the backside, getting into that hip, and then stretching it out and ready to snap it when you want. More like a rubber band. I want to think of it like a rubber band where we're building, loading, building that tension, coiling it up, and then when it's time to go, landing the front foot, getting the hips going, and coming at the baseball. So let's think more rubber band and less back forward, back forward. And this is something I could describe to you better in the next session in person. But when I see you and we talk about rubber band, you'll know what I mean here. The best way to do that is those jump back drills that we did, where you're on the front foot, you jumped back, you hovered over the backside, landed it, and swung through the ball. We'll go back to those jump backs in the next session. So continuing on with the load, we talked about in the last session pinching in that lead leg, right, that front knee, rather than lifting it up and carrying it inside, and then sometimes I felt like it was hanging there and it was late sometimes. Bringing that front knee in on an angle towards your back hip, not towards your front hip. And I'll show you, let me draw on the screen. I'll pull up one of your swings and I'll draw on the screen here to show you what I mean. Going back to the front toss swings again from the last session. Sometimes that knee comes up and then in. And I think you said when we went over it, should I be a little wider then to help out? And I said, yeah, that should be fine. Shouldn't be a problem. But I would like you to be in almost like an A shape when you're reaching the height of your load. See how it kind of comes up and in a little bit? It's almost like you're going back and then forward, back and then forward. So when you're getting ready to load and you're tracking the pitch right here, I'd almost like it if it looked like this a little bit. So if this knee right here was heading towards this back hip on an angle, almost like an A shape, so you stay up the line like this, rather than going up towards the Nike check and then back in, so that when you're loading, right, you're staying centered in your gravity. It's not bringing you backwards too much. We talked about external rotation. We want to make sure that you're not loading outside of that back knee. And I'll talk about that in a second, that you're coming into the midpoint and then landing and going forward. So when you do finish that load, and we'll talk about the rear leg in a second, it should be almost like this A shape here, knee like that. So rather than going, and I'll show you what I mean with a different color here, rather than going up this way and then over this way and then back forward towards the pitch like that, I think following the yellow arrows and going with the knee into the back hip and pinching, more of a pinch, it should help you out. Let me clear that mess. We'll get back to the document. Here's one more look at it. Sometimes you do it, but it's inconsistent. Sometimes it's up and in. I know we've been working on it, but it's just something that we got to get better at. Once again, this is all fine tuning, sorry. Talking about that back knee, I know we spent a lot of time in the past couple sessions on this. I put negative here. When you're getting your negative, when you're loading and you're getting on that backside, you're building a negative before you release it all forward, we want to make sure that the back knee is inside of the back foot in your load, right? Avoid rotating externally like we talked about. You're doing a great job of no longer being that rotational hitter where you're twisting back, then unloading, twisting forward. You're more linear now, building back and ending up forward. But we want to make sure that your back knee is inside of the back foot in the load. And it goes back to that A shape we talked about a minute ago. We want to build in the quad of the rear leg. And I'll show you off the tee. You do a great job off the tee of this. Let me show you what this looks like. So we want to focus on this back foot here. Okay, so we want to focus on this back foot and making sure that this back knee is staying inside of that foot. So if I'm putting a line there, let's make sure that we are staying inside of this line here, okay? Not ending up rotating this way like we used to. You had your knee going this way, your hip going this way. We do not want to do this. We want to stay inside of this back foot here. Let's check out the video. You did really well off the tee in this session. This was our most recent session. Watch that back knee though. I know you mentioned that you had an injury that sometimes affects your back knee, but see how sometimes it rotates outward, sometimes it stays in, but there's a great view here. If we're talking about that A shape again, right? If we're talking about bringing this knee and this leg this way towards the belt buckle slash, back of the hip, and staying inside of that back foot and building this way, and then all of our energy kind of storing in this hip, in this rear quad right here, inside of the back knee, and then getting ready to launch it all forward. But making sure that this back knee stays inside of that back foot. That's a great one right there. That's a great one. Let me pull up that swing again, actually. You can tell by your little heel click at the end of the swing that you liked it. Watch this. Stay inside, get through the ball, great swing. Here's another one. Watch that back knee. Stay inside. Yeah, not bad, not bad, not bad. Going back to the notes. The last part of the load, the fourth thing I want to talk about is staying connected in the upper half and bottom half. Sometimes we talked about you finishing upright, losing the energy you built. We want to make sure that you're generating in the rear leg, right, into that back hip, keeping pressure inside of that foot, inside the knee, in the quad, the back quad, and the back hip, crunching up and not standing upright. Starting athletic, staying athletic, and and not losing any of it. And I'll show you the difference. I noticed some of this when I was looking at the front toss compared to the tee work. Let me just set this up. Okay. So playing off the front toss here, let me try to get you right in a load here. As you load, you should be crunching up, building up there. Okay, right there. And let's see off the tee. I think you do a much better job of getting into that crunch position off the tee. Let me see. Yeah, even right there. I mean, it's not the best angles, but if you look at both of these side to side here, here, let me draw on it. So looking at these two, do you see how your chest here, right? You have that perpendicular angle towards the catcher here. Um, you're sitting in these hips a little bit more, right? You have a lower kind of base. Up here, I feel like you're more upright. And I feel like there's a disconnection happening between your upper half and your lower half here. And you have your head straight on the ball here, point of contact, ready to go. It's easier off the tee, obviously, but pinching in this side here, like we're talking about. And this is from the bottom video right here. This is from the second session. That's a 2. And this is from the first session in January. And you can tell the difference already. But this is what we're going to talk about, calling it crunch, right? How you're going to crunch up, you're going to stay connected between the lower half and bottom half, and you're not going to finish in an upright position. Stay athletic through the swing. Don't lose any of that energy that you built. I mean, looking at this second one here, this is some really good stuff down here. And we'll discuss this again if this is confusing in the video. Let me clear this all and go to the last point here. Lastly, we talked about the hand path. We've been talking about, you've been top hand dominant for a while, leading to a lot of rollovers. And we talk about the frisbee, the bottom hand, throwing the frisbee, right? Finishing the path of the bottom hand, pulling the knob past the inside part of the baseball. The bottom hand's doing the pulling, right? The top hand is guiding through, avoiding being top hand dominant through contact, and then finishing out in front, palm up, palm down, extended in that power V. And I know you've been doing a lot of work with one-handed off the tee, which is great at home. We'll do it in the next session as well. But if you're working with the bottom hand, one hand off the tee, I want you to come through the ball, and you can do this on your own. Come through the ball off the tee and finish out in front extended. You don't have to finish towards your back, right? Bottom hand, get through the ball, and you don't have to get too powerful. Right through the ball and finish. Hold the extension. Hold the finish out there. And you'll see, whether you're putting this in your pocket and not finishing the path, or you're getting all the way through it, extended out in front. That bottom hand should be palm down on the finish, in that power V. So the one hand will really help you here, and I'll show you what that looks like. Here's a guy that you should be pretty familiar with if you're not. Adley Rushman. I found a video of him last month taking BP outside, and I want to show you his bottom hand here. Let's key on his bottom hand right now. So #1 pick in the draft. He's going to be an absolute stud. But watch that bottom hand. Okay, look where it finishes. And you'll see when he gets into it more, he starts really showing the path of the hands. Watch the bottom hand all the way out in front. Look at that. That finished behind his back, almost at his back knee through the swing. Bottom hand finishing all the way. There you go. There's another one. Letting go of it almost, right? That top hand is guiding. The bottom hand coming all the way through. I know it's a lefty, but I think you get the point here. Watch that bottom hand. See where it's finishing? Almost over the plate. Now, you don't have to go that far, obviously, but we have to make sure that that bottom hand gets out towards the baseball, in front of that baseball, out and around, and you're finishing the path of that bottom hand. Okay, here's another guy that I know you like. This is Frankie Lindor. It's another lefty swing, sorry, switch hitter. But to show you that crunch and that load, it's a great view here. Check this out, slow motion. Picking up that front side knee, staying in front of that back foot. There's that A position. Hips and hands. 90-degree in the back leg, firm front side. Look at the bottom hand, finishing over his right shoulder. For you, that would be your left shoulder. Here it is again. Back knee inside the back foot. pinches that front knee into the hip / belt buckle, hands come through. You're going to like him on the Mets. Okay, so just to review before I get you out of here, 5 things I really want to focus on. Hover and hit, which means rather than being robotic, back, forward, back, forward. We want to make sure we're finding a balance point, hovering over that back hip, ready to land, being ready to hit. The lead leg, the front leg, getting that A shape, pinching it into that back hip, getting that pinch going rather than leaving it up and then letting it fall down. The negative, making sure that back knee, as we build backwards, as we build in the load, making sure that back knee is inside of that back foot, building in that quad, feeling pressure in our back quad there. The crunch, staying connected between the upper half and the bottom half, like we saw off the tee, versus the front toss where you were more upright and you're releasing energy as you came through the ball, and then finishing the path to the bottom hand, throwing that Frisbee out there. If you have any questions about anything we're going over, we'll do it in the next session. I hope this helps. Feel free to email or text, and I look forward to working with you in the next session. Thank you.